Boys and girls, got a great story for today. And it's called Planting Beans and Beets. Planting beans and beets. Okay. When I looked at the story, I was looking for ways to decode these words, either chunking or looking for blends. So the first one I'm looking for is the PL blend. And I want you to make the PL blend sound, which is pull. Say pull, pull. Now, the next one, if I look, A-N-T. I know that word. That word is ant. So I have pull, ant. If I keep going, I got I-N-G. Now remember, I-N-G says ing. Say ing, ing. So I'm looking at this big word, and I'm looking to break it up. I'm going to start with pull, ant, ting. And that word is planting. So I was able to break apart that word. I want you to do it the same exact way. Planting. Now, when I look at the next word, I'm just going to look for the initial sound, which is buh. Say buh. Buh. Now, after we got the buh, this is called a vowel combination. Vowel combinations are two vowels that are touching. And most of the time, you look at the first vowel, and it makes a long vowel sound. So see where it says E-A? It's going to make an E sound. So we have b-e-ns, b-e-ns, beans. So we start with planting, beans. Here's a sight word which you got to know. And, now let's decode this word. Another b. Say b. B-e. See another vowel combination? Two E's makes a long E sound. B-e-ts. Beets, beets. So our title is Planting Beans and Beets. Okay? Very cool. Here we go. Planting beans and beets. Planting beans and beets. You can plant beans and beets in the garden. You can plant beans and beets in the garden. See them planting? You start with packs of seeds. Now, let me show you how I read this page. The word you is a sight word which you gotta know. But let's look at the next word. O-S-T blend. Like in Mr. Pout. St. So we're starting with st. And then we have a vowel controlled R. And A-R reminds me of a pirate that goes R. Can you say R? So it's art, art, start. You start with, now with is a sight word, packs of seeds. You start with packs of seeds. See the seeds there? Then you poke holes. Okay, a couple things here. The word then is a sight word, but you can decode it. The TH digraph makes this sound. Can you make that sound? Then. Say then. Now the word you is a sight word, you gotta know that. But if you look at this word, this is interesting. This is the silent E. Okay? Now the silent E does two things. Number one, it's gonna be silent, just like it says its name is. But the vowel is going to say its name. So the O, instead of saying ah, like octopus, is going to say O. It's going to say its name. So when I decode this, I go p-oak. And remember, I'm not going to sound out the E because it's silent E. P-oak, poke. Then you poke. Now look at this next word. It's got another silent E. You see the silent E at the end? So remember, the silent E is not going to say its name. And it's going to tell the vowel to say its name. So the silent E is going to remain silent. And the vowel is going to say its name. Oles. Oles. Holes. Then you poke holes. See the holes? Next, you shake out the tiny seeds. Now, how did Mr. Paus do that? Well, I decode the word next. Next. You do it. Next. Next. You is a sight word. We just got to know it. Next, you. Now, this word we can decode. There is the SH digraph. SH digraph is like the librarian. She goes, shh. Can you make that sound? Shh. Good. Now look what we got here. See the silent E? So the silent E is going to remain silent, and the vowel is going to say its name. And we know the vowels are A, E, I, O, U. So instead of A saying ah, it's going to say A. So we have the SH digraph. Shh. Ache. You do it. Shh. Ache. Shake. Next, you shake out the tiny seeds. Now, I look at the word out. OU is in my name. So it says out. You try. Out. Out. The word the is a sight word. We got to know that. Now, tiny is interesting because sometimes Y will make an E sound if it's at the end of a word. So if his Y is at the end of a word, it's kind of like a vowel. But when Y is in the beginning of a word, it's a consonant. So if Y is in the beginning of a word, it's going to make a Y, like yellow. But if it's at the end of a word, it can make an E, a long E sound. So tiny, tiny, that tricky Y, right? Tiny. I'm going to decode this word. We got a vowel combination. Remember, long E sound? Seeds. 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 Next, you shake out the tiny seeds. Then you water the seeds. Then you water the seeds. So you're watering it? After you have watered, look for green stems and leaves. After you have watered, look for green stems and leaves. See the green stems and leaves? Now, pick. Now, pick the beans and beets. They are ready to cook. Yum! Now, pick the beans and beets. They are ready to cook. Yum. Now, this is our first time reading it, so I'm going to revisit the story. And I suggest you do the same. Because the first time you read a story, you're kind of trying to figure out the story. You're trying to decode the words. And the second time, now we can build our fluency. We should be more comfortable reading the story. Planting beans and beets. planting beans and beets. Practice makes perfect, right, boys and girls? Planting beans and beets. Planting beans and beets. Ready? You can plant beans and beets in the garden. You can plant beans and beets in the garden. You start with packs of seeds. You start with packs of seeds. Then you poke holes. Then you poke holes. Next, you shake out the tiny seeds. Next, you shake out the tiny seeds. Then you water the seeds. Then you water the seeds. After you have watered, look for green stems and leaves. After you have watered, look for green stems and leaves. Now pick the beans and beets. They are ready to cook. Yum! Now pick the beans and beets. They are ready to cook. Yum! I got some questions for you. Number one, what are some of the steps you need to follow to make a garden? Do you remember the steps to make a garden? What else? All right. What kinds of seeds did the people in the story plant? Ooh, what kind of seeds did the people in the story plant? How do you know that? How do you know those were the types of seeds? If you had a garden, what would you plant? If you had a garden, what would you plant? What kind of seeds would you want to plant? All right, keep practicing. I'm excited to hear you read Planting Beans and Beets. See you soon.